What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. What I have behind me is the 402,000 mile E55 AMG. You may know this car from about a month ago when I made a video of it braking on the dyno. Now, I was just as disappointed as everyone, and so was the owner of the car, which is why it's back in my garage. The owner wants redemption, so he wants me to fix the E55 up, head back to the rollers, and see really what it puts down to the tires. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. But before I get to any repairs on this car or even an inspection, I thought it would be awesome to bring this to the Mercedes-Benz dealership and have them tell me exactly what this car needs. So what I did was I brought it to Mercedes and I asked for a pre-purchase inspection. This is an inspection you would get on a used car you were looking to buy. And what they do is they tell you every single thing that's wrong with the car and they give you a price for it. When I picked the car up, it came with this nifty little pamphlet with a bunch of check marks telling me everything that's wrong with the car, and then also an explanation on each part that they want to replace. Now, the last page of this is, in this car's case, a massive repair estimate for this car. In today's video, we're lifting the E55 up in the air, and we're going to check out some of the larger items that the dealership recommend I replace. We're going to see, do they really need to be replaced? How much do they want to replace them? At the end, we're going to tally it all up, and as an added bonus, I'm going to show you a couple things that the dealership totally missed and didn't put on the estimate, which I find to be bizarre because they are gravy work or bread and butter at any shop. So without further ado, I got my trusty flashlight. I have my favorite Fluky's Garage t-shirt. Shout out to everybody in Chicago. Let's get this thing up in the air and check it out. So to start off, what they're recommending we replace is the lower ball joint. They're also recommending the driver's side. These are normally done in pairs. Now, they claim that there is some play in this joint, so let's check that out. Yeah, this is bad. You can hear that and probably see it. So that is definitely bad. Let's check out the other side. This is the driver's side lower ball joint. Yeah, again, this is bad as well. Now, how much do you guys think doing a couple lower ball joints would cost? $1,224 at the dealership. That's how much. Now, this joint is really not all that hard to replace. It's one nut right up here, if you can see that, and then it actually pounds out from the bottom. It's not all that hard, but nevertheless, they want $1,224, so we're moving on. Up next, we have what they call a control arm and what I call a thrust arm, and that is this arm right here. And as you can see, this boot has separated. That's why they're recommending we replace this. Now, we can also check this for play too, as it is just a joint after all. So, yep, no play at all. Now, to take a better look at the entire arm, this is it. And then also there is a bushing that goes bad. See that little tear right there? So that's another reason why they're recommending these. The other side, the driver's side, looks fine. These are usually done in pairs, so they're recommending we do both of them. All they want for this arm is $1,198. Not bad. Up next, we have the upper ball joint. We're on the passenger side. They're recommending we replace both of these because they are done in pairs. And they say that this side has some play, so let's check it out. This one does have some play. The other side is fine, but they recommend these in pairs. And they are asking $594 for these two ball joints. Now, I'd like to note that I think that this is more in line with the proper cost of doing a couple ball joints at the dealership. The lower ball joints for like $1,200 is just a little bit high. I would definitely question that. Up next is something that they did not recommend, which I find to be absolutely bizarre, and that would be the brakes. Now, check out the lip on this rotor. That is really bad. And then if you go and check out the brake pad itself, they're fairly new. So this is what we call a pad slap. That's when it needs rotors, but the rotors are way more expensive than the pads, so they just slap some brake pads on there and call it a day. This is not safe at all. Next up on the list is this right here. This is the pump for the intercooler system. What it does is it pumps coolant through this heat exchanger, which you can also see through the grill. A lot of guys upgrade this. And then from there, it sends the fluid to the intercooler, which is underneath the supercharger, and it cools down the intake air temperatures. It's a very common part that goes bad, and this is what I suspect was the reason why this car didn't make good power in the dyno. The dealership wants $727 to replace this pump. It's very easy to do, just a couple clamps there and a plug here. Before we get to the most expensive part on the list, let's take a look at this fog light. They're recommending we replace both of them. This one is obviously broken, and if we go over to the driver's side, it's just not in the best of shape. Guess how much they want? $747 for 2 fog lights. This is definitely nothing you should be buying at the dealership. There are quite a few things you should go to the dealership for, but not lights. This you can get aftermarket for way cheaper. From the back of the car, we can see the most expensive item on the list. And no, it is not right here. This is the air spring for the car, and this is the shock. This air spring looks to be very new. See the sticker right there? And these hold the car up very well. It can sit for weeks and not lower at all, which is typically what happens when those go bad. What we have going on back here for $2,200 are the shocks are leaking. Now, this is something I actually told them about. See that oil up there? It's leaking. That'll do it. I've seen better shocks bounce up and down. So they want $2,200 for these shocks. They're very easy to replace, so I'm going to assume that that's all parts. If you ever wondered what the bottom of a 400,000 mile car looks like, this is it. And honestly, I don't think the dealership even knows what this looks like, because I don't believe they took any of these panels off. They didn't recommend any repairs down here for any oil leaks, which is just a little odd, seeing as how there are quite a few oil leaks. Now, this could have been saturated over many, many years, and it's been about 20,000 miles or so since this car's been to a dealership. But to not even mention these oil leaks is a little strange to me. But nothing was leaking on the ground, but they should have pulled the pans. You can see right here, it's definitely been leaking for a little while. Nothing active, but at least a mention would have been nice. Something else I noticed on this car, because this is the first time I've had it up in the air, it's missing the rear catalytic converters, and they didn't really do the best job here. See how it's hitting this bracket right here. Now, this is okay to do if you're in an area that doesn't do an actual visual inspection for emissions. This won't set a check engine light, as it's way, way past the rear O2 sensors. And these rear O2 sensors are here to check the efficiency of the front catalytic converter. So really, anything past here, you can do whatever you want with on most cars and not have to worry about failing emissions unless they check out underneath the car. Then they will notice this. But here in Chicago, they don't look at any of that. All they do is hook up a scanner, no check engine light, no codes, it's all ready, you're good to go. Honorable mentions, we have the SBC battery, which is right under here. It's for the electronic brakes. They want $253 to replace this little tiny battery. And then also, of course, they recommend the wallet flush, as we call it, which in this case is a coolant flush, a fuel flush, and a power steering flush. Now, the coolant flush is totally legit. That's actually a factory recommended service by most companies. But the fuel flush and the power steering flush, you would be very hard pressed to actually find that in any factory maintenance book. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do, but when you're recommending those 2 flushes before a brake flush or even front pads and rotors, that does not look good. The grand total for everything, according to the dealership, to fix this car up would be $8,728. Now, if you factor in that this really does need front brakes, and at the very least, we need to look at these oil leaks and see where they're coming from, this is easily over $10,000 had they found everything. Now, the moral of the story here isn't don't ever bring your car to the dealership. I know a ton of really good dealership service writers and mechanics, and quite honestly, a car of this mileage and age really has no business at the dealership anymore, as it's really not worth all that much money. The moral of the story here is whether you bring your car to an independent shop or a dealership, get to know exactly who's working on your car. Know the service writer, and especially know the mechanic. It could save you a ton of money over the course of your car's life. I brought this car to a random Mercedes dealer I'd never even been to, and look what happened. That will do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all my subscribers. I really appreciate all the support. And for anyone that's new checking in for the first time, please consider subscribing. I do videos like this, dynos, racing, reviews, you name it. It is all right here, and I would absolutely love to have you. As always, I'm going to link down below at altdriver.com an article that I write on this video. I'm going to put some pretty useful information in that article, as I'm going to put links to some parts that I talked about in this video that you can get for a lot cheaper online. They may be aftermarket, but this is going to be good quality stuff that can save you a bunch of cash. So definitely check that out. As always, I hope that everybody has a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.